Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning. Welcome to a Monday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up. It's National Championship Monday. We'll talk about the game. We're going to have Jace here in just a second. Then we're going to be joined by ESPN college football analyst, recruiting specialist Tom Luginbill. Will be joining us breaking down the game and talk a little Gator football as well. But first, let's go to the Titan MR hotline. And we're going to be joined. He's down in Miami. He's just got out of the team meeting, going to team breakfast. How was the team meeting last night, JC?
Oh, man, everybody's so excited. We watched a movie. How's that?
They watched the movie. Did you go to media day?
No, things have changed, but QB, it's a little bit more subdued, I would think, down there. I didn't go. Tickets were too expensive. There weren't enough available. And then,
how much are the tickets, by the way?
Well, I don't know, but last week when I looked at them in Dallas, when I was over there, I was looking forward, of course, because the game had ended, and they were on the secondary market going for over $1,000. And I would think with Ohio State fans having not seen their team play all season long, this was a great excuse to take a trip to Florida. Of course, it would be in any time, but I think specifically because of the tickets being so limited and so sparse, Ohio State fans are going to take the price will not matter. For Alabama fans, there'll be some down there, but I think you'll see more Ohio State fans, believe it or not.
What did they say how many people they're allowing into the stadium?
What I heard was 20% of capacity, so just a little bit more than or at what has been the case for the Dolphins and teams that have played down there. But it's better than nothing. And of course, the weather won't be a factor tonight. And, we'll have a great game. And I'm glad the college football folks were able to pull this off. The COVID tests came back clean for both teams. I think it was Friday. And we're going to have a great football game tonight. And it's going to testament to the folks who were able to pull off college football this year that they're playing tonight. And I think you've got the two of the hottest or best teams, of course, in the country playing. Yeah. And you're going to have a great we're going to see a high scoring game tonight. I really believe that.
Okay. We'll talk about that game a little bit later in the program. We got a Facebook Live brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm part of the Florida Gators. Rob says he saw where, quote, choice ticket seats were going for $5,000 a piece.
Well, that could be. Yeah, I didn't look at those club level seats. When I went to the game in 2012 against Notre Dame, those club level seats, the whole place was packed. It was full to capacity, and they weren't that expensive for Notre Dame, Alabama. In this case, I think you've got Ohio State fans who are going to pay anything to go.
All right, so let's just recap the weekend. First, Gators get embarrassed by Kentucky in basketball. I was surprised. They didn't play well. Kentucky played extremely well. Maybe they're turning the corner, but it was a disappointing loss. The NFL playoffs, first year they had the extra wild card game. Did you like it, JC?
I did like it. I thought it was fun having 3 games on Saturday and Sunday. I was surprised that all 3 dogs came in on Saturday, and 2 of the 3. The other game pushed, and then yesterday we had 2 of the 3. No, we had one of the 3 underdogs come in and win the game. That was Cleveland last night. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was nice to have these games back to back like this. And, it's going to be tremendous for Cleveland fans, for Baltimore fans, Los Angeles Rams fans, Buffalo fans, Kansas City, Green Bay, New Orleans. So these are the teams we've got left now, and I think next weekend's going to be tremendous with 2 games on Saturday and Sunday. But the games were good. I thought the games were played well. I thought I was very impressed, very, very impressed with how the Rams were able to go up to Seattle, really stone the Seahawks. They lost their quarterback at the beginning. They put in Jared Goff with a banged-up thumb, and it didn't seem to affect him at all. And they dominated the Seahawks on the defensive side of the game of the ball with Aaron Donald and Darius Williams. And Donald didn't even play the whole game. He had a rib injury, and Darius Williams picking off the pass going to the house. That was impressive to me. I thought it was good to see for Lamar Jackson's sake that he got the monkey off his back with that performance yesterday, even though they fell behind 10-0. They could not stop his run pass option, it would seem, when he just ran right through the line of scrimmage and did what he did. And then the Cleveland Browns yesterday were probably the most impressive team of all the teams that played, with the way they destroyed and manhandled the Pittsburgh Steelers and Ben Roethlisberger with those interceptions and turnovers.
Yeah, it was interesting. Watching the Saints game and the Bears game, I know a lot of people bitching and complaining about the Bears offense, and I get it. I'll tell you this, though.
Man,
that was one of the worst games I've seen the Saints play in a long time. I thought they had a lot of mistakes. They got some fortunate calls from the officials, but offensively, if they play like that against the Bucs, they ain't winning. I thought they were horrible offensively.
Yeah, they were, and they did get a break with Chicago drops a pass in the end zone that literally hits the guy. I mean, you couldn't have laid it into his hands any easier. If that guy catches that pass in the end zone, maybe the game is a little bit more close. But I think New Orleans' issue is I don't know what's wrong with Bree. It doesn't seem like they're really they're in sync right now. And you're right, they better, because Tampa Bay is clicking on all cylinders. And now this is a team that New Orleans has just blown out 2 times already this season. It's hard to do that, I would think. You would know better, but to beat an NFL team 3 times in the season is rare. But the Saints have had no issues with the Tampa Bay Bucs this season. So we'll see how that goes in New Orleans.
Yeah, we got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Melton Law. John asked, did anyone watch the game on Nickelodeon? Did you watch it on Nickelodeon,
No,
JC?
I wasn't able to see the green slime, but I'll tell you what, the Bears had green slime all over them. They were so bad offensively, and that poor defense was, good enough to win the game, but the offense wasn't good enough to even play in the game. The way they just looked so bad. And it surprised me, because I took the Bears, as did you, in our picks contest, because they looked like they had hit their stride and played very well toward the end of the season. Trubisky was a guy who was benched earlier in the year, came back, replaced Nick Foles, and they did very well to make the playoffs in that stretch run of the season. And then they just played yesterday like a team that just had no interest in being there. It was very disappointing to watch, if you're a Bears fan.
Well,
so
yeah.
I mean, and then if you're a Steelers fan, all the turnovers last night, Cleveland can run the football with Hunt and Nick Chubb, and I think Cleveland will give Kansas City a nice little game this next weekend. I do. I think Cleveland's offensive line is good, and who knows? We'll see.
That Cleveland game, and I was happy for the Browns with their head coach and a couple other coaches not being able to be there.
Yeah.
But it still blows my mind how in college and in the pros, where if a coach gets COVID, they're not allowed to have any contact with their team. But if you're a broadcaster, and I know the broadcasters have really nothing to do with the game, you can continue doing your job at your house. Right.
You can.
But whether it's Nick Saban, Kevin Stefanski, whatever how you pronounce his name, why he can't be involved with his team. It's not like he broke any rules. I don't know why he's being punished, why he couldn't be on a telecast somehow or through the headset or whatever to make suggestions. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Well, there's a lot of things that don't make sense to me as well. I mean, you've got offensive linemen wearing masks, and then 2 minutes later, they're out there hitting each other in the face. So, on the sideline, then they go back out, take them off, put them on, take them off, put them on. This is just what the rules are. So you have to live with it. And I don't really know the rationale behind any of it, but I do think that it's amazing that these players are able to keep themselves from, most of them anyway, keep themselves from being unable to play. And there they are. And this is where the money's made in the NFL, QB. You've been there.
Yeah. Joe says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. He says he saw Cordero Patterson drop the F-bomb on Nickelodeon.
Well, look, this is an NFL football game, folks. And I don't know. I didn't watch any of the broadcasts. We have a mutual friend who watched it and said it was awful. So, I mean, maybe I didn't even know they did it. I didn't even know they were doing it until they showed on the TV.
Yeah, I think it was good. I saw on Twitter a lot of people said it was great for kids to be able to watch the game of football that have never really wanted to watch it, to get them involved. And I get it. I mean, I don't know who came up with the idea of doing it, because I didn't know they were even doing it until, I guess, on Saturday when they talked about the Sunday game, saying, okay, this game is going to be broadcast at noon on ESPN, or one on ESPN. This game is on CBS and Nickelodeon. I'm like, what? I don't know who came up with that idea. So,
well,
did you hear the rumors? Deshaun Watson is not very happy with the Houston organization. So, he could be traded. There's talking about him being traded to Miami and Tua going to Houston. I would do that in a heartbeat if I were the Miami Dolphins.
Well, and it's not just Tua going to Houston. It would be their multiple first and second round picks as well.
I'd do it right now.
Would you do it if you were Houston?
Absolutely. Well, no, I wouldn't want to give up Deshaun Watson, but it sounds like Houston, from all indications, I don't know who they're going to hire as their coach. I don't even know why they're not interviewing Eric Bieniemy. I don't think Eric Bieniemy calls any plays for the Chiefs, but he should be given an opportunity. And I think it's pissed Deshaun Watson off, who's a pretty level-headed guy. But I'm telling you right now, I like Tua. I don't think Tua is the answer at Miami, though.
Well, I'm willing to give him a little bit more of a chance than you are, but I do think the game's too fast for him right now. And I think the Dolphins, sticking with him, staying with their guns, okay, that's noble, but they didn't make the playoffs, and they had a chance. Now, Fitzpatrick got COVID right before their playoff game, but I don't think it would have mattered because they named Tua the starting quarterback after Fitzpatrick bailed them out of that game that they played against at the end of the year. So that they needed to win, that they pulled out by the skin of their teeth. It escapes me right now who that game was against, but you know which one I'm talking about, where Tua was ineffective. They benched him, and then comes Ryan Fitzpatrick to save the day, and he did. Okay, so it was the Raiders.
Las Vegas.
Vegas Raiders. So that win propelled them to a chance to make the playoffs. They needed some help, or they could have just beaten Buffalo, and they would have had a better chance, as we know, I think, and as you think, with Ryan Fitzpatrick in the game. But then he got sick. So obviously he wasn't able to play, but there was no chance. Tua was ready to play against the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. No way.
So we got another Facebook Live brought to you by Melon Law by John. He says, if you're the Jaguars, do you make that trade?
Oh, well, wow. That's a tough one. You got to remember that contract that Watson's carrying is massive.
Well, I think Trevor Lawrence's contract's going to be massive.
Well, he's going to get a rookie deal the first 3 years.
True.
It's not the same. It's not even close. It's not even in the same solar system. So, no, I think what I would do is, as good as Deshaun Watson is, he had the material in Houston to win something. They went to the playoffs. They failed. I would go with somebody new and fresh, somebody that wouldn't cost me money at the cap with other player positions, and I'd give Trevor Lawrence his rookie deal like they all get, and for 3 years know that I've got a generational quarterback, and I think you'll probably talk to Tom Luginbill about this. Of course, I think that's what they do, and I think the coach they bring in there is very important for Trevor Lawrence's development at Jacksonville.
Well, there's still those rumors out there that Urban's trying to assemble a staff and all that stuff. So we shall see. We probably know something here in the next few weeks. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. January is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with JC on the Titan Tomorrow hotline from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be joined by Tom Luginbill in the second portion of the show.
And now Luginbill's a recruit guy, right? He's
a recruit guy and a college guy. So we're going to break down the Buckeyes in Alabama. Well, he's going to talk a little recruiting.
Okay, but ask him a question for me, if you would, and it's a good question, and that is this 2017 recruiting class that Alabama's about to present tonight playing
that's a dumb question.
It's not, because here's the question. Is it as good or better than the 2008 recruiting class that Nick Saban had that included Julio Jones, Mark Barron, Marcel Darius, Barrett Jones, Dante Tower, Terrence Cody, Courtney Upshaw. All of these guys are NFL players.
Right, but
and
you
now
can't.
You've got a 2017 class that's about to play its third national championship.
But you can't compare. You have to ask him that question once you find out how many of these guys coming in go to the NFL. It's not a fair question right now.
Well, I think
because this is the highest rate. This is the highest ranked recruiting class Saban's ever had. Does that mean he's going to have every one of these guys in the NFL? We don't know.
No, but he's got 6 5-star players, and Leatherwood's going to go first round. Dylan Moses could be drafted. Jerry Jeudy went drafted last year. LeBron Ray's going to get drafted. They've got guys like Harris, who's going to get drafted. Mac Jones is going to get drafted. Devontae Smith, who's going to get drafted. Yeah, I think you can make comparisons. But now Saban hates doing that, and he won't do that. But for guys who are writing columns, it's a good thing to talk about. I mean, this is an incredible recruiting class he's got here. It's unbelievable. You've got Heisman Trophy. You've got 4 players who finished in the top 5 of the Heisman Trophy voting in either 2018 or this season. It's included just about every major individual award winner a player can win. This recruiting class did. It won in 2017, got blown out in 2018, and is now back in 2020. That's crazy. And when you think of the coaches that were recruiting these guys, most of them are head coaches. Mario Cristobal is a head coach at Oregon. Jeremy Pruitt's a head coach at Tennessee.
Not for long.
Mike Loxley's a head coach at Maryland. Lane Kiffin's a head coach. Lane Kiffin's a head coach at Ole Miss. Billy Napier is a head coach at Louisiana. All of these guys were coaching on that staff, recruiting these players. It is sick, the amount of success.
Well, let me ask you this. That's great. All those guys recruited those guys. Those guys aren't recruiting those type of players to their institutions.
Well, that's not Alabama.
That's what my point.
But that's a good point.
You could go coach tight ends and get 5-star tight ends to come play at Alabama. That's my point.
Okay. Yes, because Tuscaloosa is such a 5-star community that you want to go live in for 4 years.
Do you think a damn 17-year-old kid cares about the town he's going to?
No, I get that. And I know it's all about the football program and playing for Saban and having a chance to go to the NFL and winning like they do. And I get it all. But it is incredible to me to look at these 2 classes in 2008 and in 2017 and see this success from just one class. These kids that are playing in this 2017 class, ask Tom Luginbill, ask him, say, is this the best class ever? It probably is the best class ever assembled in college football. Ask him.
Well, what do you know? I can't scroll on my Facebook Live. So what the hell's going on with the computer? Okay, so we just got a Facebook Live here from Gary, brought to you by Meldon Law. He wants to know how much longer for Mike White.
Oh, wow. Look, I think every coach is going to get a pass with this corona and with the way the season has, it's just like with the football guys. They are so distracted with so many other things they have to watch out for and be careful about. I think Mike White, look, they lost their best player. He's just not there anymore. When you lose your best player, your team changes dramatically. It changes with just the talent you have, but with the confidence that the other players may have when they lose a leader like that. Keontae Johnson, he was a great player. He really was.
He was the preseason SEC Player of the Year.
So not having him is absolutely not Mike White's fault. So how can you hold that against Mike White? Absolutely not. He's going to be here throughout this season, and he'll have a chance in both next season, I think, in the year after. You're not going to just go and find somebody tomorrow to come to the University of Florida's basketball program and just make a splash and turn this team into a Final Four team immediately. I just don't think that's going to be the case. So I would think Mike White's safe.
Here's the thing. You lose the SEC Player of the Year. He's not coming back. Mm-hmm. Scotty Lewis, who's a 5-star, is not playing as a 5-star. Mm-hmm. And it is what it is. Here's
the other
thing.
Players.
And here's the thing. And I try to tell people this, and they get very upset with me about it in basketball.
Why do they get upset with you?
Because they have their orange and blue glasses on, or however you want to phrase it.
Okay.
If you're a top-notch basketball player and you're getting recruited, I don't even know if Florida's in your top 10 as a basketball school. We're fortunate we got Scotty Lewis. You're fortunate you got Trey Mann, who's also a 5-star, because Trey Mann grew up in Gainesville. But think about it. Joel Embiid went right here to the Rock in Gainesville, decided to go to Kansas. Billy had a good relationship with him. What the 04s did, those guys weren't highly recruited. The only one was Corey Brewer, I think. The other ones just panned out and became good players. So when I tell people, if I'm a 5-star shooting guard coming out of high school, would Florida be on my radar? Absolutely not. I don't care if Billy Donovan's the coach. I don't care who's the coach, because I'm thinking Kentucky, North Carolina, Kansas,
Louisville,
Duke, Louisville. I mean,
Virginia,
blue blood in basketball.
No, and it's really, I think fans have to remember that, yes, as great as 06 and 08 was, it was a while back. And for some reason, the blue bloodness did not come into the Gator ecosystem even after winning those 2 championships. And I can't really answer why that didn't happen. Why Florida didn't become a blue blood after you win two championships in 3 years. I would challenge Kansas and these other schools to do something like that. Right?
It wasn't in 3 years, JC. It was back to back.
I'm sorry, excuse me. 2 out of, well, right. So in 3 years, they won twice. But you're right. It was back to back. Exactly. So,
but you don't become a blue blood because you went back to back. Blue blood goes back 50, 60 years ago.
Okay, that's fine. But remember these kids, like you say, don't care about basketball 50 or 60 years ago. They like to go where they can win, and Florida was winning. And, Billy, just after that, it was time to go try the NBA. So, I don't know why Florida didn't expand their success in basketball since those 2 magical seasons. I can't really answer that.
Well, because Billy was still here 3 or 4 years after that.
And they didn't win.
No, they missed the tournaments a couple of times. And my point is,
exactly,
it's not a blue blood. I mean, it doesn't matter if a kid grows up back when the 04s won the championship or now or whenever it is. You got the same list. It's just like football. It's the same teams in football. It's going to be the same teams in basketball.
Well, we see some new teams this year having really good seasons. We'll see how it goes. Gonzaga, Texas. Now, Gonzaga's always been there, but they've never won it. Texas with Shaka Smart, I think, is a team you really have to watch and keep your eye out on. And then there's some teams in the SEC that we talked about last week that could really make some splashes, with Alabama playing well, Arkansas playing well, Missouri is a ranked team. Kentucky may have gotten their act together. Tennessee's highly talented. So it's going to be a tough slog for Florida basketball. And that's just what I expected once they lost their best player. I don't know how else you can put it.
Well, that is very true. All right, JC, before we let you go here, got a few more minutes with you. Let's get our predictions, our Peachland Dentistry. It's not a weekend pick since it's not the weekend, but we're going to pick the game tonight. Yeah. I don't even know what is the point spread now.
So it's kind of fluctuated. It started around 7.5, actually went up to as high as 8. And then now, according to the app that we both use, is at 8.5 points. I considered Ohio State getting 7.5 against Clemson with Trevor Lawrence a gift. I can't see how this wouldn't be considered a gift if you were betting the game. You have to take Ohio State in the 8.5 points. I swore never to bet against Alabama since the second week of the season, and it turned out pretty good for me. But I don't think, and I'm not confident that Alabama's defense is able to stop Trey Sermon, Justin Fields, and some of those wide receivers like Olave and the others. And their offensive line at Ohio State is almost as good as Alabama's. I can't imagine getting 8.5 points with a team this good. And you didn't believe in Ohio State before they played Clemson, but I saw the talent. I knew that once they played, they were good enough to beat that team, and they did. And I think they're good enough to beat Alabama tonight, but I am hoping and praying that doesn't happen. But I cannot lay 8.5 points. That's just too many against a good quality team like this. So I'm going to take the points. I hate it.
So what do you think the score is going to be?
I hope I lose. Truthfully, I hope I lose. 42-36. Alabama.
You think it's going to be that high scoring, huh?
I think they're going to be up and down the field. Now, I hope that, a game like that I think could favor Alabama, but I don't know if defensively they can stop Ohio State. And frankly, I don't think Ohio State can stop them either. So. This is one of those games.
I think Ohio State's going to try to control the game with their running game. I think Alabama's going to win their 17th national title. Supposedly, some of those aren't legit.
But they also could have been. They also could have won some during the years when Notre Dame was given the title, and Alabama was better that year, and they didn't win it. So you can wash all that out. The point is, in the Saban era, there's no questions. And look, Florida was the best offense that Alabama has played all season. Mississippi was the second best offense that Alabama has played all season. I don't think Ohio State has the firepower to match Florida or Mississippi when healthy. But I do think Ohio State is physical. That could play into Alabama's strength defensively, but I can't imagine them not scoring a lot of points in this game. So I think it's going to be a high score.
You're right about Ole Miss and Florida's offense, but Ohio State probably has better athletes across the board than both of those teams you mentioned at every position.
It's just the matchups, but it's the matchups that I'm thinking about.
Right.
And I'm thinking about –
okay, but those damn wide receivers, Ohio State, are pretty good. The quarterback can make every throw there is, and he can run the football. Well, I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring because I think Ohio State can establish the run and keep them off the field. I think like a 38-31 game. I think Alabama wins, though.
Okay, 38-31, which means you're taking the 8.5. So, that's kind of close. I mean, you got 38 for Alabama. I've got 42. You've got 31 for Ohio, and I've got 36. So we're just about there. But I think we're going to see the ball in the end zone quite a bit tonight.
Well, I would think you would, but I don't know.
Well, we thought that in the NFL too, and it didn't happen yesterday, did it? I mean,
no, it was nobody could score, and I think
Cleveland.
I think Ryan Day knows he can't get in a shootout, and I think Ryan Day wants to run the football.
And I think
with Trey Sermon, I think you're going to see Justin Fields run the ball a lot tonight because remember, what teams beat Alabama? The dual threat quarterback. So
right, but Alabama, I think, has gotten better defensively against that type of thing. And what
they haven't played one this year. Have they played a dual threat quarterback?
Well, Kellen Mond was considered one.
But their offense is totally different. Their offense is old school.
What Alabama has done, though, is balance. And that balance is hard for defenses to do the pro-style offense. Alabama with the play action, with the 11s package. But they've also mixed it up with a little RPO at times, too. So I don't know. I think it's going to be it's really going to be a great game. I think we're going to see one of the best games of the year tonight.
Yep, should be a good one. JC, go get your pregame meal.
All right. Oh, I'm so
all
nervous.
That good stuff. I know you're nervous. Take a couple of pills. Take a nap.
I'm going to have to do my chores. Oh, it's going to be a long night. Oh,
all right,
okay.
JC.
All right.
Have a good week. Hey, folks.
We'll see.
Let me tell you about a new sponsor we have. It's called G-Tech Clean. G-Tech Clean right here. I'm going to show you. It disinfects everything.
G-Tech Clean is your complete germ protection. It's EPA approved to kill COVID-19 and kills 99.9% of all germs and viruses, black mold, and also deodorizes. It's the safest, affordable way to clean and sanitize your business, no matter if it's a gym, school, retail store, or office. Use it in your home anywhere from the bathroom to the kids' room. It's formulated to provide 24/7 protection and is over 30 times more durable than any other cleaners. Try G-Tech at home as well.
I use G-Tech Clean to keep my pot-up studio clear of any germs, COVID-related, and any viruses, and so should you. G-Tech Clean.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance, If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Sensei, Prime and Pearl, opening soon, Dave & Buster's, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurants, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. We're now going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Tom Luginbill, recruiting and scout, college football analyst. He does all kinds of stuff. Good morning, Tom. How are you?
Good morning, man. How are you doing, Shane?
Not too bad. Not too bad. First, since today's the big day, you got Ohio State, Alabama. First off, I want to get back to those two semifinal games. Were you surprised at either one of them?
I was surprised at the Ohio State performance, and not that Ohio State wouldn't play well, but coming off of the Big Ten championship game, I don't think anybody saw that coming from Justin Fields. I mean, there were times watching them against Northwestern where I was scratching my head saying, has Justin Fields even practiced in the last 2 weeks? I mean, it was really poor. And so I think we all know at a championship level, if you're going to win a college football playoff game or a national championship, you got to have a pretty transcendent performance at the quarterback position. And so that was really the difference, in my opinion. I was a little bit surprised, Shane, at how much Clemson got pushed around up front on both sides of the ball. I think we've all kind of known that Clemson's never been a dominant team in the offensive line, but they have been a pretty dominant force in the defensive front and the front seven. And Ohio State just pushed them around. And then you add in the quarterback play, and I don't think anybody halfway through that game was surprised with how it ended.
When you look at the Notre Dame-Alabama game, I think Notre Dame had a couple of drives in there that were perfect for them. Long, established, 8-minute drives. But when I look at the Notre Dame program, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think they've done really well in the interior guys, but it just doesn't look like they have much speed on the outside. Do they need to go get some speed?
They do. They've got to get some perimeter upgrades. In fact, when you look at how Ohio State offensively attacked Clemson, it was 11, 12 personnel. You know, you had Ruckert and you had Farrell, the two tight ends. You had the back in the backfield. All right, well, that's very similar to what Notre Dame does, right? But what's the difference? Notre Dame doesn't have number 2 and they don't have number 5. No Olave, no Garrett Wilson. Ohio State does. So not only do you have to contend with what's going on between the hashes and between the numbers, you got to deal with the perimeter people. And that's where Notre Dame has got to upgrade. And I think ultimately they probably need to become a little bit more dynamic at quarterback. I mean, I think for all that Ian Book has done for that program, I don't know if you could ever look back and say, okay, was Ian Book a guy they won with or a guy they won because of? And so you add some perimeter weapons. I think the same thing could be said at corner. You know, they're starting a 3-star true freshman at one corner and a grad transfer at the other one. You know, they're not playing with Sean Wade or Patrick Surtains and some of those guys. But the problem is, and Shane, you know it, you're living right smack in the middle of it, as am I. You got to go into the Southeast to get those kids. You're not going to find a bunch of those guys in the Midwest. And in doing so, well, you got to battle. You got to battle Alabama. You got to battle LSU and Florida and Georgia and Auburn and Clemson. And guess what? None of those schools have your academic restrictions. So that creates challenge too.
That is so true. So let's get to the game tonight. You know, I didn't think Ohio State would have a chance, but the way they played against Clemson kind of changed my mind, especially the way they rushed the passer. Now, I know they're ranked pretty poorly on the back end, again, pass defense. And if Jalen Waddle plays in this game, now they may just use him as a decoy. I think Sarkisian's done a tremendous job scheming up stuff this year. Do you think Alabama may throw it 40 or 45 times to attack the weakness of the secondary with the Buckeyes?
You know, I do, and it'll be interesting how they go about doing it, because one of the things that Alabama does a really good job of, and I actually last week did a segment on College Football Live on this, is, you know, everybody's getting familiar with the RPOs, and, you know, most RPOs are a post-snap decision. The ball's snapped, you're keying a guy, he does this, you do that, and vice versa. What Alabama does a great job of is they do a great job of pre-snap RPOs, where they're using shifts and motions and what the defense does to react to that. So based on 6 or John Mechie 8, if you saw Waddle 17, whoever's going in motion, then what the defense does, they're making a predetermined decision before the ball's even snapped for what Mac Jones is going to do. In fact, on all plays involving motion for Alabama, Mac Jones is completing 92% of his passes.
Wow.
Well, why is that? Because they result in bubble screens, slants, backside screens to the boundary. Not a lot of stuff he has to do downfield with predetermined stuff in their predetermined pre-snap RPO game. So, listen, Alabama is the best in college football right now at getting people in space and getting you isolated. That's a danger. And if you went back to the semifinal game and watched what Cornell Powell, number 17 for Clemson, did to Sean Wade, I mean, he worked him over like a turnstile, and that's their best corner. So yeah, if I'm Ohio State, I need pressure to burst the pipe. We need our front to create havoc, so some ill-advised balls get thrown, maybe have an opportunity for a turnover in the back end.
When you look at this Alabama offense, I said last year I thought maybe LSU was the best college offense I'd ever seen, and Joe Burrow had an unbelievable year. But I've changed my mind now. This is the most balanced college football team I've ever seen on offense. Would you agree with that?
It is, and it's a pick your poison scenario on every single snap, and they just outman you with personnel. I mean, they are an offensive line that if they wanted to line up and be in 12 personnel or 21 personnel and get in the true I formation, they could just maul you. I mean, they could be a more athletic version of Wisconsin if they wanted to be. If they want to line up in no backs and spread you out, there's nobody that you look at and say, okay, we have a matchup that we can win there. They're better than we are. And then they get you into space. So what are you supposed to do then? Do you load the box to stop Najee Harris? Or do you back off a little bit because you're worried about one-on-ones and giving up an explosive over the top? They completely dictate terms to the defense, Shane. And I know it's about great players, and obviously they're going to scheme people up really well. But I just have an appreciation, and I go back to what I said about the pre-snap RPO stuff that they've implemented. They have found a way to always put their people where you are not. They get you out on an island, they get you in space, and they essentially say, good luck making an open field tackle against our guy. Then when you decide to back off a little bit, okay, well, now we have a numbers advantage, and we are going to run the ball right down your throat. And they can do it before the ball's even snapped. It's remarkable to watch, and you've got to have a real appreciation for it.
Yeah, looking at Ohio State's offense, Justin Fields played the game of his life against Clemson. We all know he was the number one quarterback coming out when he came out, and really good runner, powerful, has a great arm. I never thought he was very accurate, but I'll be dang, he was accurate against the Clemson Tigers.
He was.
Does he have to play that well for them to beat Alabama?
I don't know if he has to play 6 touchdowns well. And by the way, when you go back and you watch the all-22 copy of that game, he missed 2 others that should have been touchdowns. It could have been 8. And I just think that he's going to have to make some explosive plays through the air. I mean, that was really the difference. Clemson, number one, couldn't get lined up. All right. And it's tough to get lined up when you don't know what play is coming. So I think that when I look at Justin Fields, he has to play well. He's got to make some key plays at key moments. And for me, you're not going to be able to have a 3-and-out or a turnover and keep pace with Alabama. That's the problem, is there are so few teams that can get a track meet with them. And I've been saying all year long, and heck, you played in the fun and gun. I mean, there's times where I'm watching them, I'm going, you know what? You have to go into this game expecting to score at least 45 and be within one possession in the last 7 minutes of the fourth quarter. Now, who in the heck in college football is capable of doing that? I don't even know if Ohio State is. I think Ohio State is if they don't have miscues, because they have the skill to match up and the quarterback's dynamic. The one thing they have that Alabama doesn't is they've got a quarterback that you have to account for on the ground. And that changes your numbers in the box, because now they have a +1 at all times. And I will say this, Nick Saban hates that. He hates having to face the dynamic runner. And it's one of the reasons why 2 out of their last 3 was that guy. Mac Jones isn't that guy, but he does not like having to defend that.
So who wins tonight?
I'm actually going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Ohio State. The underdog in the college football playoff is 2-7. Guess who the 2 wins were? Ohio State as the underdog. And there's just something about there. They've taken it on the chin for only playing a limited amount of games. That's not their fault. That's their conference's fault. In fact, the Big Ten should be applauding Ohio State, because if Ryan Day and Justin Fields hadn't have been screaming to the rooftops, the Big Ten probably wouldn't have played. But everything's just seemed to be working against them. But it's only going to happen if Justin Fields plays well. If he plays like he did against Northwestern or Indiana, Ohio State has no chance.
Got to talk a little Gator football with you real quick. Kyle Trask had a tremendous year at the quarterback position with Tony and Pitts.
Yeah.
What your assessment? I mean, you watch a lot of tape being a college football analyst. What did you think about the year that Kyle Trask had?
Well, number one, I think we have to have an appreciation for having a guy stick it out for a long period of time in an era where nobody wants to redshirt. They want to play right away. Nobody wants to bide their time. Nobody wants to compete. If things don't go your way, what do guys do? They jump into the transfer portal and they leave. I think the maturity of the guy is a big plus. I think what he's been through, how he had to battle and compete to finally have his moment, is one of the reasons why he played so well. And let's not kid ourselves. Through the transfer portal, through recruitment, through players that were inherited, like a Kadarius Toney. And a lot of people don't realize that, Trevon Grimes and Justin Shorter were 2 5-star guys that transferred back. Those guys weren't there originally. So you have that element. And then Kyle Pitts, I mean, if I was a defensive coordinator in college football, I'd sign a petition to ban him. Because nobody has Shane, I mean, think about it. Have you seen anybody in college football have an answer for him?
No,
nobody.
And that's why in the SEC championship game, I couldn't wait to watch it, because Nick has all these exotic coverages, and sometimes you can either have 2 guys all over him, and his catch radius and body control, he makes the play look easy.
It's unbelievable, and then on top of it, they set him up in formations and motions and shifts where everybody in the stadium knows he's getting the ball. Everybody does, and they still can't stop it. I mean, so I thought that the combination of Kyle Trask, his smarts, his toughness, and the fact that one of the things that Dan Mullen does a really good job of, I think he always has, and it was really evident at Mississippi State when he didn't have Florida-level players, is schemes people up really good. So many shifts, so many formations, different things that you've got to prepare for, personnel groupings, to try and create that isolation or that one-on-one that he wants. And I think he's directed the quarterback well, and where to go with the football. So, it's funny you bring up Kyle, because everybody was talking about Devontae Smith with the Heisman Trophy, right? Well, look at all of the quarterback performances this year, whether it was Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Kyle Trask, Zach Wilson at BYU. There's not an eyelash difference between them. There was no discernible, wow, this guy is a cut above from everybody else, which opened the door for Devontae Smith. And we're talking about a year that Kyle Trask had, that in most years, you win the Heisman Trophy. Yeah. Statistically, with that year, you win it.
No doubt. We're speaking with Tom Luginbill on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. He's a recruiting analyst, a college football analyst, does a little bit of everything for ESPN. Let me ask you quick before we let you go, because you grade a lot of these guys coming out of high school, and Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson, who are both slated to be, probably Emory's going to be the starter next year. You're going to see a totally different offense. I try to tell people, look, throwing the ball 40-something times a game ain't going to happen. Just kind of give a thumbnail, quick version of what you see in Emory Jones and Anthony Richardson.
Well, first off, to your point, you're right. I think they're going to go back to what they looked like with Fitzgerald at Mississippi State, where you're going to see a lot more quarterback run. You're going to see a lot more things designed to enhance Emory or Richardson's athleticism. The one thing I think is important, though, is that coming out of high school, Emory was not college ready in the passing game. He needed to be brought along slowly. And to his credit, he hasn't jumped into the transfer portal either. He's earned it. He's gotten smarter. He's probably become a better student of the game. Wasn't thrown to the wolves to where his confidence could get wrecked. I like him athletically. I think he's got arm talent. The question is going to be is, will he bring the same level of accuracy that you want to have at the position? Because at the end of the day, listen, you can have height, weight, speed, you can have a powerful arm. but the essence of the position is accuracy. And where does the ball end up? And that's the bottom line. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And you know what? All this talk about Dan Mullen, and there's a lot of negativity swirling around him. But when you look at the job he's done developing quarterbacks that nobody wanted, I think you probably got the right guy, at least at the quarterback position, dealing with those two youngsters.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about recruiting real quick, because so many the Gator Nation gets so upset when it comes to recruiting here. And look, Tom, when my son was in high school, I made a point, because I just love college football, and I've been pounding the cement. We are behind the times because of facilities, and it's true. Yeah. I went to all the ACC schools on the one-day camps, all the SEC schools on the one-day camps. Yeah. I was blown away.
It's not even close.
So I came back telling people how far we are. And I tell them that hurts us in recruiting, because when Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, LSU, Georgia, when they're all recruiting the same kids, those teams are winning. Yes, we're winning, but they have the amenities to go to. Mm-hmm. It makes a difference. I could be totally wrong, but do you think that portion is hurting the Florida Gators in recruiting?
I think it's definitely a component, because from a perception standpoint, it sends a message. When somebody, I'm going to give you a prime example. Have you seen Kentucky's new facility?
Yes.
Holy smokes. That's a basketball school, Shane. So when I'm a prospect, let's just say I'm a prospect from Florida, and I decide to take an unofficial visit to Kentucky. I go up and I look at that as a prospect from a perception standpoint, and I say, these guys are serious about football. These guys are serious about the direction that the football program is going. If I go and I make that same visit to the University of Florida, do I come away with being impressed with that same commitment? And listen, there's been a lot of programs that have rested in many ways on quote unquote who they are. USC did that for a number of years. All right. Michigan has a great stadium, but their football operations facility is 20 years behind. Okay. But they think because they're Michigan, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. I mean, heck, you look at the University of Texas, a lot of people say that's the best job in college football. Their indoor practice facility is a bubble underneath a freeway overpass, literally.
Wow.
So, yeah, it matters. To answer your question, I was a long way of getting around it, but I do think it matters because it sends a message.
Last thing for you. You were involved with the XFL, correct?
Yeah, both times. I was the quarterback's coach in 2001, and then I broadcasted it this last spring.
Now, they're going to be coming back, next spring, supposedly?
From what I understand, yeah.
So, I mean, you're a guy that watches a lot of football. I mean, Don't you think there needs to be some support, some spring league, minor league, especially from the quarterback position? Because when you get a lot of these guys on the practice squads in the NFL, they don't get any game tape or any experience. Don't you think something needs to be done?
Absolutely. And I'm gonna go on record as saying, had COVID not hit, this was it. They had figured it out. It worked. It was fan friendly, player friendly, coach friendly. The rules were phenomenal. Just from a pure X's and O's standpoint in the approach that they took, they never took the approach that we're a developmental league. Now, you might be developing as a player by playing in the XFL, but they wanted to go out and get the best possible players that were not on a 53-man roster in the NFL and get better, build teams, and then they had a long-term plan for it. And I truly believe there were a lot of flaws the first time around that I was involved with it. This time around, they did a really good job of being self-aware, answering to the fans. I mean, the rules of the XFL, Shane, were literally born from fan polls. They went out and polled fans and what do you like about football? What do you not like about football? What rule would you change? What do you not like about the officiating? And that's how the league was developed. And then going out and getting high profile coaches, getting professionals so that people realized this was serious. This was not a joke. It wasn't a circus. We need to have it. It needs to be somewhere. It takes a ton of upfront capital and it takes a ton of broadcast television rights money to pull it off because it's just so expensive. And it's a shame because I truly believe they got it right and it would have been here for a long, long time if The Rock and his business partners take the same approach and look at what they accomplished in that 5 weeks that we had on the field, then I think it will be very successful and it is certainly needed.
Okay, last thing for you. I got one more question. Do you think we need to expand the playoffs? And what can be done, if anything can be done in college football? Because you would love for there to be a little bit of parity. But
Sure.
You and I both can sit here and jot down 5 teams that are going to be in the 14 playoff next year.
Yep.
All because of recruiting. Is there anything that can be done to help out I don't want to call them mid-majors because they're still major programs,
Sure.
but we know who's going to be playing for the national title next year, probably in football.
Yeah. So, I tweeted during the first half of the Alabama-Notre Dame game, we can expand the playoff all we want, all right? But it's not going to close this talent gap. All it's going to do is make you care about the other games that are being played. Now, I should have expanded upon that had I had more than 175 characters or whatever it is now. But essentially what I'm saying is you're going to have Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State, okay? They are going to have athletic advantages both in talent and depth, all right? That's not changing. The best players are going to go to the best programs. So if we expand, okay, I would love to turn on that Cincinnati-Georgia game and truly care about watching it because the winner goes on. I'd love to turn on that Oklahoma-Florida game. And by the way, I think if you're paying any attention to college football and you watch the last 7 weeks of the season, the other 4 teams in the college football playoff were praying that an Oklahoma wasn't in the playoff. Oklahoma was playing as good a football down the stretch as anybody in America. And so they're out of it. So I would want to care about those games. We all want to care about those games. And I do think that long term, not in the interim, maybe not even the next 2 to 3 years, it might be a 5 to 8 year deal. If you expanded to 6 or you expanded to 8, could you close that talent gap a bit in recruiting if you had teams that could market to recruits? Hey, we're a college football playoff contender every year, or we've been in the college football playoff 3 of the last 5 years. Maybe they were the 8th seed, but they can still market that. Now they're attractive to better players, and maybe all the better players don't go to 3 schools. I can't guarantee that would happen, but I think there's some likelihood to it. But here's the issue, Shane, and you touched on it with Florida's inability to or unwillingness to upgrade in some areas. What's made Alabama and Clemson different than everybody else is it's not an administrative decision. It's not a coaching staff decision. It's not a football decision. They've made a university decision and have been unapologetic about it in saying that football is going to drive the bus here. And if you don't like it, tough luck. And we are going to push all our chips to the table because we truly believe the biggest revenue generator is going to help everybody else. Clemson's applications and enrollment have gone up 80% since Dabo Swinney became the head coach. Wow. Alabama's actual enrollment has gone up 50% since Nick Saban has been there. So when you make that decision to go all in, guess what? Commerce is booming in your community. That new wing's getting built on the library. The new tennis facility is getting enhanced. Everybody wins. But there are very few at the president and board of regents level that are willing to do that because they feel like, they've got to answer to the faculty and they got to answer to the academic side. Well, you know what? They all win too. Everybody wins if you take this approach. Clemson and Alabama have been willing to do it. I don't believe that others have had that same level of commitment.
I agree 100%. Very well said. Appreciate your time, Tom. You do a tremendous job for ESPN. Appreciate you joining the show today. Enjoy the game tonight, and we will talk to you soon.
You got it, buddy. Same to you.
That's Tom Luginbill. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We'll come back and wrap up this show.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Appreciate you joining us today. Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchase, $199 value. Service departments open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This day in sports in 2016, national championship, Alabama beats Clemson 45-40. Let's see if Alabama can get it done tonight. Hey, folks, enjoy the game tonight. We'll have Buddy Martin and also Chris Harry talking basketball tomorrow. Make sure you tune in, follow us, and like us. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Take care, folks.